March of 2025 is going to be huge energies of change. We have eclipses. We have one in the sign of Aries at the end of the month and another one in Virgo mid-month. And this is the beginning of one cycle, the end of another. A grand crescendo or finale meets the beginning of a new energy of change. And so we can feel almost like a tidal wave, not a tidal wave, although unfortunately, I do think a tidal wave may occur in the month of March. We'll get to that. It's a sea change. It's like when the tide's going out or the waters are changing and we're having a shift of energy. We have planets retrograde, Venus and Mercury heading retrograde in March. So a lot of things are going to take us back to the past for review. March is an interesting month because it does kind of have a foot in two worlds. We have the world of the old eclipse cycle, Libra and Aries, which began during the war in the Middle East. And now I do believe that war is closing out. And we also have the energies of something that wants to bring us back in time to 2006, 7, and 8. All of us completely are engaged in a new cycle that's just like it was back then. So we're going to break this down for your sign today in this video. But this is an overview of what I got right in February, which I'm surprised about how much I did get right in my February overview video, but also what general predictions I'm making for March for the world. And then we're going to go into your sign. Now, when we do your sign, I'm only going to talk about one thing. I'm going to talk about the closure of the eclipse cycle in Aries and what it might mean for you. And for each sign, I'll talk for about 5 minutes maximum, because I will also do a really deep dive into the nature of that eclipse as we get closer to the end of March, and also dive a little deeper into all signs. And as well, I already have created a 30-minute video for you based on your sign, Aries, sun, moon, and rising, Taurus, sun, moon, and rising. Those were already dropped into the public sphere on the 23rd of March on a Sunday. And there's a playlist on my channel, and you can just go watch that, where I break down everything you need to know chronologically for your month. But I don't dive deeply into that eclipse story in those videos, the March eclipse on the 29th. And that's what I'll do for you today. So welcome to my channel. If you're new, my name is Lori Lothian. I'm a Western tropical zodiac astrologer. I love that fixed star minor asteroid shit. I do whole sign houses, of course, the ancient tradition. Once you go whole sign, you never go back. If you don't know how to cast your chart in whole sign houses, if you don't know how to find the minor asteroids in your sky, I have a free class. About 5,000 people have taken it. Check the more button, go all the way down. You'll find that free class. If you want to know how to find your ascendant, as long as you have your birth time, you can use that same asteroids class tutorial to find your ascendant. And you can also use the how to cast your chart in whole sign houses free tutorial in my description box below, and the free minis of the 12 houses PDF. I've been giving those away for 5 years. They're down below. You can take them, and they're for free. I started my Venus retrograde class on March the 1st, and you may be getting this a little bit late, but I might have the doors open for a week after we start the 6-week course for late enrollment. If you want to join a little bit behind and have missed the first class, you'll still have the replay. It's going to be a fantastical journey, and we have a great group of people in our Facebook group already. Weekly Q&As, a Facebook group for community, live calls with me, replays, and forever access to the content and more. Check it out below. All right, and then let's get talking about the sky. Oh. So I have to do this for myself. I need to think about really hiring an assistant, but I have to go back and listen to myself in February and go, what did I get right? I got almost everything right, actually. Okay, I said there would be earthquakes in the month of February. Well, that's all we hear about are earthquakes. It's all we hear about are earthquakes, and that has to do with the Uranus activation. And, it's interesting because I even gave some dates and they turned out to be somewhat accurate in my overview for the month of February video. But it's so funny. I live in Vancouver, Canada. We had a 4.8 earthquake pretty close to me. And my daughter calls me and said, oh my God, Mom, my brand new building was swaying. Well, the new buildings are meant to do that. I'm in an old building. You see those pictures behind me? They're still crooked. Okay. And there's ones on this side of and they were I tried to straighten them last night. I didn't even notice that the earthquake had shifted them. I was driving, I think, when the earthquake happened. So in your car, I didn't feel it. In my car, I didn't feel it. Yeah. So anyway, earthquake. So I'm expecting a huge earthquake in the month of March. That's a prediction, but I said there would be earthquake activity in February. I was correct. Unfortunately, I think there's going to be a huge earthquake, maybe tidal wave energy in the month of March because of the new moon in Leo. The full moon in Leo in the month of February, squaring Uranus, and even to the point where a very positive eclipse is happening for the world on February the 27th, not an eclipse, moon, new moon still also activates Uranus and algol and corpses and shaking up, and the asteroid Grieve is involved in that, and an eclipse in March as well. So we'll get to all that in a minute. Now, unfortunately, what else I got right in my little handy notes here, I talked about the Middle East, and I gave dates for things that could occur. I talked about how there's going to be a movement towards sustained and steadfast or reliable ceasefire peace in the Middle East, especially in the beginning of February. And I talked about a strong arm character pushing for peace. I didn't know it was going to be Donald Trump. It could have been anybody in the world suddenly strong arming for peace. And I talked about the Pluto-Venus reason for that in the month of February. But also I said it would stabilize the Gaza, the hostage exchanges, etc. And I was concerned a bit about Venus being penned in between Saturn and the North Node in Pisces. Pisces is Gaza, basically. Refugees, indigent, homeless, displaced, water, seashore areas of the world. And but I did also say that I thought things would stabilize. However, I also mentioned there would be a disruption of peace around the 24th to the 27th of February, as something would destabilize the tenuous peace at hand. And I'm recording on the 24th. And at this point, the only thing I can see in the story, so I won't know by the time you see this, the recording will have been created, is Hamas is objecting to Israel stalling on the return of Palestinian prisoners or hostages. And they're saying that's a breaking the ceasefire. And Benjamin Netanyahu, just before this February 24th, has been all over the airwaves talking about the murderous intent of Hamas killing 2 babies and the mother. Well, yeah, but Israel also bombed their own people and bombed the shit out of Gaza. And a lot of the hostages were killed by military offensive by their own people. So, and as for, what really happened to those 2 boy children and their mother, who were taken, I believe, by not Hamas, but Fatah, which is not Hamas, is that they were actually killed in like an airstrike or a tunnel or bunker blow up. But I mean, all said and done, whatever happened is probably not what matters. Is that I'm recording on February 24th, and in my video that I recorded, I'm recording on February 24th, and in the video I recorded at the end of January for February, what I said was that we would see a potential destabilization of peace coming through the sky around the 24th to the 27th, or a major water hardship like a tsunami or massive flood or a big, cyclone or something. So we'll see what happens, because I'm recording then. I won't know. I also talked about how there would be a major announcement around the Middle East and finding a place for, I said 1 point something million or 2 million Gazans. What are we going to do with them? I said in the February video that was recorded at the end of January. Someone's going to try to come up with a solution, I said, around the 9th to the 12th of the month. Particularly, I mentioned the 10th, which was a Mercury Gazimi. That's when Donald Trump on February 10th did that announcement with Netanyahu sitting beside him saying, oh, and the United States will take over Gaza, great real estate, we can develop the casinos, we can move the Gazan people off their land and they'll be safer there, and yada, yada. So I did talk about that. I said there would be some kind of solution proposed around February 9th and 10th. And that's exactly what happened. So those are some things I got right. I also talked about market shifts that would be occurring in the month in the stock market. It looks like the stock markets went up. I wasn't sure which direction it would go. I was talking about the Wellstar algol being activated at that time. The crypto markets, I was worried could be destabilizing. And although I don't know that they were destabilized, I do know that futures for Bitcoin are down. And I'm recording on February 24th. The March futures are down. So there's a bit of a bear trend in Bitcoin, it seems like. And that I suggested that might happen because of the square to algol Uranus, which is on the sun of the United States Stock Exchange. All right. So what I mostly got right was weather, earthquakes, and the whole narrative of the timeline of the Middle East situation. And I do not think that's going to stabilize or hold, because Venus will be retrograding and going back and forth and getting re-enclosed between malefics and then breaking free and Pisces. And so this story about the Middle East finally sort of shaking out to some kind of end of an absolutely horrific televised geocide in the world could occur. I know I see people unsubscribe when I just unsubscribe when I talk about what's really going on. So you can just leave. It's okay. But I do really accurate all signs delineation. So you can shoot the messenger and you can diss her, or you can do your sign and just ignore the intro. Okay. But timestamps, chapters, you get the gist. Anyway. Go back and watch the video that's probably out before this as well on this magical enchanted moon. Yes, it came out today, Monday, but there's another video that might be up before this too. And but the enchanted moon on the 27th is gorgeous and has a star called Scat. And go back and watch it because we can harness that energy to visualize and dream into being individually and collectively something a lot better than what we're seeing happen in the world. Oh, hallelujah. Anything else I want to say? No, let's go ahead and do this month. Now, we're going to be here for no longer than an hour and a half from start to finish of this video. So if you're in the live premiere, you can time it. And I want to show you a chart that you can screenshot right now. And it gives you what I consider the most important highlights of the month of March. And you can put this on your refrigerator and you can have it handy. And then we're going to talk about how you can close out the 18-month cycle of eclipses through the Libra axis. And technically it began these eclipses in Aries in March of 2023, an eclipse in March of 24, and this last eclipse, April 24, April 23, and the last eclipse at the end of March of 2025. So these eclipses in Aries, this is a closing of a door and the grand finale on a cycle of change in your sky based on your whole sign Aries house from the perspective of your rising sign or your solar chart as if the sun is in the first house, or your lunar chart as if the moon is in the first house. Moon is your feelings about your life and your home matters and domestic matters and property and land and where you live. The sun is your essential core self, your true nature, but it can represent purpose and career. And you can look at your rising sign as being exquisitely accurate because it's the character you play in the simulation called life. And circumstances and things happen to your character, and you want to know what's happening to your character. And that's why you listen to your rising sign as well. Oh, all right. So here's the screenshotable. Let's pull this baby up. Oh, where is it? Let me go get it. It was in the downloads box. Downloads, and downloads. Here we go. Now I've got it up. Now let's see if I can bring it up to you guys. Yeah, here we go. There we are. So take a screenshot. I'm going to walk us through this verbally. Remember, I do talk about world events in the beginning, and this is because I get to go back and see what I got right. So in February, I talked about what I got right in January. In January, February, March, I'm talking about what I got right in February. I'm building up my sense of I'm not too bad at this. And here we go. So March 25 highlights are the following. You'll notice in the top right-hand corner, I hope you guys can see that because I hope I'm not blocking the way. You'll notice that Venus is retrograde on March 1st to April 12th. That's why I'm teaching a 6-week class. And that Mercury is retrograde on March 15th to April 3rd, April 7th. Technically, by the time we get to March 1st, we're in the shadow of the retrograde for Mercury. So we have a feeling about the whole month of March. You can only imagine that Venus is retrograde and Mercury retrograde. And I spelled Mercury wrong, but you know what I mean. And it's so close to Earth. The planets are both between the Earth and the Sun in what we call an inferior conjunction position. And they're close to Earth and they're more powerful. And so things to do with ideas, communications, marketing, merchandising, beauty, love, harmony, peace are going backwards. And so in our own lives individually, and I have a Venus retrograde video already out for your sign, came out a week or so ago. Please go check my channel. They're all posted on my main page under certain things like playlists, but you Google it. And the thing about Venus retrograde is that peace is supposed to go forward, but peace goes backwards. That's as simple as I can say. She's in Aries, the sign of war, where the chironic wound is, and she retrogrades backwards at the 10th degree on March the 1st. And she gets back into Pisces, that watery borderland that can represent places like Gaza. She gets back there on the 27th or so of March. And then she goes back forward at 24 Pisces or 23 Pisces again. It's a big hot mess. All I can say is that if you think there's a slam dunk for any solution in the Middle East right now, it's not ready to take out of the oven. The thing's not baked at all. It's half baked. It's definitely half baked when Donald Trump suggests that the Americans are going to take over Gaza and develop casinos or something. I mean, this is what we call ethnic cleansing, and it's a war crime. The people who live there are displaced enough already from the Nakba of 1948, where 750,000 Palestinian people were pushed off their own land and shoved into other places. So, and their villages were renamed. And let's just say the founding of Israel is not one of peace and harmony and kumbaya. The founding of Israel was a Zionist project, by the way, that was begun with the Balfour Declaration. It was begun in the late 1800s. It well preceded the Holocaust. So Zionism is not the Jewish faith. Anti-Semitism is not being pro-life and anti-genocide. Please do not conflate those things, for those of you who do always conflate those things. Now, March the 25th, March 25, let's go through the sky together. I already covered what does it mean when these guys are retrograde. Of course, Mercury retrograde, March 15th to April 7th. Probably don't buy a new laptop. Probably, travel and trip disruptions. Probably all of those things are true. But he's very synchronistic. He's very magical when he's close to the earth. Pay attention to your dreams. Pay attention to your synchronicities. Your omens, portents, and synchronicities will bump up a huge energy when you have Mercury this close to the earth. So instead of being afraid of Mercury retrograde, we can all tune in and look for signs and what do you call it? Kisses from God. Look for the clues that you're on your right path by looking for synchronicities and magic, enchantment, potence, omens, messages from the dead. Okay, that's one of his jobs, dreams at night. This is a cycle that always comes to us, and we're able to use it or lose it. And so Mercury's retrograde is useful for everybody, March the 15th to April 7th. I'll be doing a whole video on that. Now, we also want to notice that March the 1st to the 8th, these are the four major things occurring and kind of in chronological order, so keep in mind that week is what we see as the most amazing stuff. Sun is in Pisces, squaring Jupiter in Gemini. Now, Jupiter's now direct as of February 4th or so. Yay, till June 9th. Good things happening. Luck is happening in your Gemini sky. This could be good for peace with warring brothers and neighbors. That is Ukraine and Russia. And that is also good things that could happen for warring neighbors such as Israel, Gaza. However, Jupiter is moving direct and would try to bring justice and fairness there. So there's that sense of what could happen. The sun is solar figures, which are leaders, and in Pisces connected to places that are watery. And again, we're talking therefore about the Middle East, but we could include Russia for the whole area of Crimea and stuff. So there's history there. I wonder as well, the sun represents institutions that are solar and such as the United Nations. And there's something going on as I speak. I think the United Nations is trying to pass a condemnation resolution about the Russia war. And I think the United States is siding with Russia and not passing it because it makes Russia the bad guy. And if you know anything about the history of the Minsk Accord and what really happened in Ukraine, and most of you don't, all right, the United States was operating in bad faith to make Ukraine a NATO nation and was provoking Russia over and over again. And we don't have to go into it. If you don't know the history, go do some research. So the United States under Donald Trump is being very bombastic and deciding it's not going to go ahead with this resolution and proposing a different resolution. Donald Trump is hell-bent on fulfilling a promise to bring peace to the world. And that was his, campaign promise, right? Now, Donald Trump's in harm's way in the month of March, particularly the last third week of March through to about the third week of April. The Ides of March and April are upon him. And the people who would want him to not be there are the people who are a part of the war machinery, the industrial military complex, the greedy powers that create the wars, so that the people who have the power and the money are rich and the rest of the Americans are poor. And so basically, this is a situation that is ongoing and has been well before Trump came in and Biden came in and Obama came in and, any of them, because if you, the presidents of the United States, unless they are going to buck the system, are the system, right? They're just co-opted into the latest update. So it doesn't matter which party you're with. My humble opinion as a Canadian, but who lived in the United States for 20 years. All right. Now, Mercury is conjunct Neptune in Pisces. This is dreamy, magical, and mystical. This is really around the first 3 days of March. Okay, so what you can do with Mercury and Neptune in Pisces individually, vision board, meditate, dream into being, manifest, cast a spell, do your thing. It's extremely mystical, extremely magical. In the last decan of Pisces, stars like Pegasus and the unicorn are there, rainbows are there. It's a great decan. It's full of enchantment. So you can use that energy, but Mercury conjunct Neptune in the world, well, Mercury is confused in the sign of Pisces. It doesn't have clarity. Neptune is fog. So negotiations around peace are going to be very foggy, especially when it comes to Middle East Gaza storylines. We're going to have confusion and delusion and fog at that point, despite the fact that the sun in Pisces is trying to work with Jupiter to bring justice or fairness to that particular war. And it's not really a war, by the way, but anyway, a war requires two independent nations, and Gaza is an occupied territory. So it's technically not a war. Venus is in Aries, sextiling Pluto in Aquarius, also that first week. This is a wealth yoga. And look down to March 14th to the 22nd. You see it's back again. That's because Venus will retrograde and do a second pass. And there will be a third pass in April. And why this is important is that Venus is about wealth and Pluto is power. Venus is about love and Pluto is power. The power of love, the love of power. It's also things to do with riches and wealth and even feminine power. So feminine Xena, warrior, princess, Lara, Tomb Raider, Venus in her go-getting, energy. She's in her masculine, she's in Aries, a sign of war, and the masculine sign of war. So Venus is acting very masculine. On an outside note for the world, I bet you any money, Venus, Aries, sextiling Pluto and Aquarius around the 6th, 7th, and 8th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th, 5th, 6th, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. That's when it's most active. Could look like a woman standing up for something, a woman in a warrior archetype. Tulsi Gabbard is a good example because she was in military service and now she's head of intelligence. So maybe some major news stories there, or information coming out about her, from her, by her. Venus in Aries, though, will try her best to still bring peace, even though she's in a sign of war. And she's working with power, Pluto, and riches, Pluto in Aquarius. Aquarius is the people, the collective. Aquarius is a sign of China's rising sign. So there may be some stories about China and peace and China and wealth and China and war coming through the sky. And you'll really feel that in the first, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th of March. And as I cover in your individual signs, you can use this for great progress with wealth and love stories in your life, but going deep under the surface. I mean, Venus with Pluto is we're going raw, we're going vulnerable, we're going deep, we're going catharsis and regeneration of wealth and love. We're not on the surface here. Diamonds are a girl's best friend, though. And Venus and Pluto would agree on that together. Sun in Pisces, trine Mars in Cancer is coming up as well at the end of that week. Again, that Sun in Pisces, first having a hard conversation with Jupiter to try to push for peace, and solar places like the United Nations involved perhaps, or leaders of the world. And then the Sun in Pisces trining Mars in Cancer. Now, Sun in Pisces. Oh yeah, Venus is an Aries sextile in Pluto. That could be Alice Weidel, the winner, the second place winner of the German election, because she's going to cause trouble in Parliament because she's going to have enough of a block of votes to block legislation. And so we'll see more of that kind of energy coming up in the first week of March, perhaps about the AfD party. Sun in Pisces, trine Mars in Cancer. Mars would like to defend the homeland, be a nationalist or a patriot in the sign of Cancer. He would like to carve up land with his sword. He would like to change the boundaries of home and homeland. This could be very much the Ukraine-Russia settlement trying to work its way through the sky. Sun in Pisces, world leaders trying to help work on borders and boundaries in a country where they have been redrawn or will be redrawn. It's a flowing energy. Mars went direct February 23rd. When it comes to territory and land and carving it up, home and homeland, Mars is very now ready to play the game as of February 23rd, including in the Middle East and also Ukraine. March the 8th to the 14th, the sun will co-join Saturn. This is always an energy that's like almost an anathema because Sun is the center of our whole solar system. Saturn is cold and distant, and Saturn represents the winter seasons of Aquarius and Capricorn. And the Sun, of course, is all bound up with the summertime, the solstice, the Cancer space, and the Leo spaces of our sky. So you're going to say, okay, what can these arch enemies do together in a positive way? They're co-joining, of course, in Pisces, water. A surprising, sudden, shocking, amazing situation that involves peace in the Middle East in an original, inventive, and unusual way. Could it be? On the other hand, the asteroid Gongong's tracking with Saturn, water catastrophes from the Chinese mythology, catastrophic events in the world. Uranus is in earthquakes. A sextile is usually going to bring something good. I will say that. So I'll give you an example. What if there's an earthquake with a tidal wave warning, tsunami warning, and people get out in time? You know, that could be kind of a March 8th to the 14th vibe. Sun in Pisces could be, again, a leadership move, a world leader move, or a United Nations move connected to structures and boundaries and land that shock and surprise everyone, regarding places where war and land boundaries need to be drawn up again. In your own life, Sun-Saturn energy allows for some merger of a divine idea or a divine will or a divine way with the structure needed to pull it off, right? So it's like, you know, like liquefied natural gas. Seriously, like sun, so some power energy put into a pipeline to move it. Saturn allows for that. There's kind of what solar force wants to be given structure for the positive things that it could do. Uranus and Taurus is still getting pretty close to Donald Trump's ascendant. Saturn is the Grim Reaper. The sun is solar force energy, a leader. So you could say March 8th to the 14th is a shocking death of a leader. It doesn't have to be Trump. It could be anybody. Netanyahu has his ascendant right now being activated in Virgo by the March 14th eclipse, 13th, 14th, and his life is in harm's way, but his career and reputation even more so. So 8th to the 14th, we see those things taking place. On the 14th, though, the 13th, 14th is a full moon eclipse, blood moon Virgo eclipse, and it activates a sextile to Uranus. That's why the sun is conjunct Uranus here just before that, and earlier around the 8th to the 12th. So I would say that there's a whole video coming out that you will be able to find just before this video drops. Go watch it, because it's all about how to understand that Virgo full moon eclipse that really goes back to most accurately the spring of 2007 at about 6 months, right? It's eclipse energy from 2007. That was the buildup for the subprime loan scandal, the topples of the stock markets, the housing crisis. Hopefully we're not going back there. Virgo represents land, right? It's an earth sign. Health as well. Now, full moon eclipse can reveal things that were hidden from view. It's not like anybody doesn't know that the C virus was a lab leak, and only the misinformed or underinformed. But there may be some more revelations to do with matters to do with health and illness issues, and Virgo full moon eclipse will bring that to our attention collectively. So look for those things coming around the 13th, 14th of March for collective challenges to matters connected to health. And when we move into the 14th to the 22nd, hopefully you're screenshotting this, we'll see the sun conjunct Neptune in Pisces. Now, the sun and Neptune together in Pisces can be a really powerful defogging of what was unclear, burning off the confusion, burning off a fog about matters connected to your Pisces sky and your whole sign house system. For me as an Aquarius rising, that's my second house of food style and monetary issues. But for the world, sun conjunct Neptune and Pisces could be an amazing clarity emerging about how to solve the situation in Gaza, and or challenges that we've sustained due to water hardship, because we're definitely looking at the possibility of some significant water hardship, whether it's droughts or floods or tsunamis in the month of March. Mars dries things out when he's in Cancer. It's like the swimming pool is drying out. You know, he can create water dryness as well, an unusual dryness, as well as just challenges with water, right? Like flooding. Now, Venus retrogrades in Aries, right? As I mentioned on the beginning of March. And so by the time we get to that March 14th to 22, we feel this reemergence of something that was initiated around the 5th of March. And you're going to see a touch point on it again sometime in that March 14th to 22 time period. Let's see if I have the exact date written down. I did. Hang on a sec. That all my papers fell on the floor when I was talking to you, kind of like the 21st to the 22nd. So if you go if you go like with the Neptune Sun conjunction to clear the fog, that's closer to the 19th, 20th. And then you go to the 21st, 22nd, and Venus is definitely sextile Pluto again, as she was around the 5th of the month. So it's a return to something that started already. It's a reboot of a story that we already felt activated. Then you need to reassess, you need to readdress the March 5th-ish timeframe around the 19th, 20th. That can involve matters to do with romance, love, relationships, money, beauty, friendships, harmony, appearance, fashion, beauty, etc. On March the 24th to the 31st, we have two main things happening, of course, and then eclipse, which I'm about to do in all signs on. Eclipses, by the way, in the sign of Aries, the sign of war, bring changes regarding matters of war. So again, more hope for ends of the already ongoing wars. March the 24th to the 31st, Saturn will be, as he moves through watery Pisces, right? Full on there, since 2023 March, finally leaving in February of 2026. Minus a summer dip out. Saturn and Pisces sextiles, Uranus and Taurus. Well, sextiles are supposed to bring good things. They're supposed to bring positivity. But they don't always, I've noticed. I've noticed in world events, that's not always true. Uranus is on Algol, a star of wealth, a star of corpses, a star of shock, of beheading, someone losing their head, Medusa's myth, beheading. It's not an easy, corpses, rotting bodies, ghouls. All right. So it's not an easy star under any circumstance. Uranus is on that star. That star is connected to Donald Trump's midheaven. It's just going to reactivate sort of the July 15th bullet situation, July 13th. I mean, he's back in that harm's way. And again, that's why I talk about the Ides of March for him. And Mars is in his house of hospitals, which can indicate hospitalization from a sudden health challenge or a sudden attack on his life, etc., and being put in a hospital setting as Mars is traveling through his house of hospitals at the time. And all said and done, obviously, it doesn't look good, does it, for Donald Trump? It doesn't feel good. It doesn't look good. And it doesn't look good for the world if that Saturn and Pisces, the sign of water with a serpent for catastrophic events, includes an earthquake in the sign of Taurus. It may be challenging. Also, for that story about peace in the Middle East, but Saturn's looking to bring structure. Saturn's wanting to contain something, sandbag it, give it boundaries, give it form, give it new land delineations, boundaries, and borders. And the shock of Uranus may be something shocking. Is it positive shocking or negative shocking? It all depends on who you are and what perspective you have on that war in the Middle East. Finally, Mars in Cancer will trine Saturn in Pisces really the 21st of March to the 7th of April. But you're going to see that the 24th or the 31st, there's a sense that you can get shit done. Hard work is paying off. Ambition and drive meet sustained action and perseverance and discipline. The power you have to drive forward and get results in watery Cancer and Pisces. Now that's funny because those are mute signs. Mars is debilitated, but it still doesn't matter. It's like Mars is in the Cancer swimming pool and Saturn is saying, I've got some cement in Pisces and we're going to contain the water somehow. So positively. So I guess, of course, every time I say Pisces, I go back to Gaza because it's a Gaza type land border. And so I guess Mars in Cancer trining Saturn in Pisces may be some significant directional focus on solutions in the Middle East. Mars is traveling along the part where the United States Sibley chart sun sits in the house of shared resources and other people's money, the 8th house of the US Sibley chart, for example. Cancer represents the 10th house of leadership in Israel, the 10th house of the Israel natal chart. There may be some formation of solutions or actions. Mars likes to cut and divide things. So division of land in watery places being proposed or solutions being developed, March 24th to 31st. Now, one thing I want to say about this last week of the 24th to 31st, with Mars heading direct in Cancer till middle of April, whatever things are trying to being put into new structures, dividing, Mars cuts, separates and divides, and creating new structures through the act of division, may not fully be complete until at least the middle of April. So, but although we see a movement there towards solutions, at least in that window of time of the 24th to the 31st and beyond, actually, the 21st to April 7th is really where that whole extended Mars Cancer trine takes place. And then finally, we have a new moon eclipse, March 29th in Aries. And we're not going to talk about it for the world because I think it will eclipse wars that are ongoing, because it was an eclipse to the ascendant of a Libra, total eclipse to the ascendant of Israel in October of 2023 that was co-attending to this war, and a Mars South Node activation there and a Venus South Node activation there. This is cyclical for Israel. It happens every 18 years and they get into a Middle East war. Always happens. It's predictable as all hell. And so that energy is being finalized regarding this eclipse of March the 29th, 2025, for that war for sure. The Ukraine war started under different energies. Mostly it was an extended 6-month stay of Mars traveling through the sign of Gemini. United States, unfortunately, could have negotiated a ceasefire. There was an on the table easy solution in the first couple of months after Russia invaded Ukraine. Zelensky was going to sign, and the United States sent an envoy and said, don't do it. We'll back you to fight to the death. And if that had been signed at the very beginning, there would be no mass casualties of young Ukrainian and Russian boys and girls. And that's absolutely devastating. And so the lack of goodwill to acquire that peace was there from the very beginning. But that was very much a Mars traveling through the sign of Gemini that extended that war, and the warring brothers and the Jekyll Hyde duplicity of Gemini. You know, Ukrainians have Russian people, Russian speakers in the country, and there's a lot of ethnic bleed through from the east to the non-east part of Ukraine between Russian and non-Russian Ukrainians. And so what happened is there was a neighborly, brotherly war that could have been solved. So I'm going to tell you that is probably anyway a fait accompli at this point, but I don't consider it to be a war that was started by the Aries Libra eclipses. That's what I'm trying to point to, but rather that would have been eclipses through Scorpio and Taurus that attended the beginning of that war. So we're moving on now to your sign. And as we do your sign, I want you to think about listening for your rising sign most accurate. As I said in the beginning, how to cast your chart and whole sign houses in the description box below also teaches you how to find your rising sign. And you can get my free minor asteroids course. Go ahead. It's in the description box below. We're not going to deep dive into your sign and the Aries final eclipse with the node in Pisces. So it's a little complicated. We're going to overview it because closer to the actual eclipse, I'm going to have a very deep dive video on this, and maybe even a free webinar, because closing out a cycle, there's something called the primacy and recency effect, you know? So the first thing you notice when you go in the room and the last thing you notice are the things that stick with you, not the stuff in the middle. And it is going to be like, what is your recency effect? How do you want to go out in a grand finale eclipse? And how do you want to close the chapter on the changes in your Libra and Aries axis? So I can't wait to either do a free webinar, I love teaching, or to also go into a really longer video about that. But this gives you a heads up as we get ready for the end of March, March 29th. And because it is a solar eclipse, you can unfold over a year. Usually you see the lay of a land on a solar eclipse about a month before, and you kind of really feel the grit or the nugget of it in the 6 months that follow. But it does unfold over the course of 12 months. All right, so let's do your sign and let's get going. I don't know if you guys can hear it. It's pouring rain in Vancouver. I can just hear the rain pounding on the roof. It's always raining in Vancouver because it is a rainforest. And we're going to give you 5 minutes per sign. Let me think if I could pull that off. I think I can. I've got a client. Yes, I am seeing clients again, but I opened my calendar for bookings. And we're sold out in like 2 hours. I'm only going to now offer readings for my client, for people, if you're on my patron community, right? Because the general public wait list is 16,000 people on my email list, 2,000 on a dedicated wait list, but I can't really, it's not a wait list, it's an early notice list. So if you guys want a reading with me, and I still will do them, but like very few a month, like, new spots open up June and July. You need to be in my Patreon community. If you want, it's $5 a month, early access ad free at the cheapest tier, just to even know that the readings are open before the general public can even grab a spot. spot. So sorry about that. What are you going to do when you get this level of demand? If I opened up my calendar for a year now, it would be booked in like a day. And I don't want to open a calendar for a year. All right. So Aries, Sun, Moon, and Rising, of course, it's all about you. I want you to consider the eclipse of April 2023 at 29 Aries, April of 2020. 4 at 19, and now this last eclipse at 9 degrees, 10 degrees of Aries. Oops, it would help if I had the eclipse in the viewfinder so you could see what we're talking about. Let's go ahead by a month. Let's get the eclipse in there. Let's go ahead by a few days. I don't even know how that happened. And we go up to about the 29th. It doesn't have to look perfect on this screen. It's a heads up video, right? The real big biggie is coming out as we approach the eclipse. So around 9 degrees of Aries, almost 10, there will be a new moon eclipse. And I want you to go back. I really want you to go back to 2019 and tell me, how have you felt a kind of chironic wound of identity, an outcast, a non-belongingness, a not good in your skin, struggling with some illnesses and health challenges, maybe finding yourself feeling like you just don't belong to your own life, or you don't really know who you are. There's some kind of a crisis identity wound. And that's being healed through the eclipses of 23, 24, and this last grand finale. That's a chironic wound being healed and cleaned out and done and complete, and you're finished with it. And because you've healed some wound of identity, you can now move into a greater alignment with your true purpose in life using your unique gifts and talents. And you get rid of this wound once and for all. This last eclipse on the 29th of March. For you Aries folk, sun is your career, moon is your home needs and home-based storylines, and of course ascendant is any part of your life that might be up for a change. Well, this eclipse also wants to invite in new ideas, new thoughts, new understanding of yourself. Mercury is co-present. And more importantly, with a node of fate in the 12th house, some of these identity changes are deeply spiritual. You're unhooking from past lives, ancestral karmic patterns, and self-undoing and addictions, and ways that you sabotage your own life. So a lot of the shift is also deep soul work. You don't have to work it. It works you. Mercury will be traveling through Pisces as well during his retrograde, and you could find yourself deeply in touch with your dreams, dream messengers, channeling angels, finding sustenance and succor in your inner life. Finally, far off distant shores and lands belong to that 12th house. Money you make from them, the marketplace of the foreign shores, but also the travel you may do. And it really does do a lot for your soul to consider that eclipse may want you to change your home to another homeland. Seriously, with Mars in your 4th house, ruling that eclipse from the house of the home and homeland. Mars is an expat or faraway travel signature from home, but also maybe wants you to go into some time out, rest and recuperation, an ashram, some time alone, a time of sort of a watery destination by yourself to restore your identity. So the eclipse of March 29th will open up that opportunity for some of you to take that kind of travel opportunity. Jupiter protects you in travel opportunities as he's moving through your 3rd house. So it's very positive as one thing that some of you may do. When I say solitude, ashrams and alone, I mean it. This is not like me and the girls are going to, the Palm Springs party house. No. This is like soul travel, deep travel, sustenance for your soul. All right. So keep it in mind. And we're going to be doing a really great deep dive on this. But you've been changing the chironic wound to your identity and your belongingness and your true gifts and talents emerging for you to use ever since 2019 as Chiron ingress there. And these eclipses of 23, 24, and the last Aries eclipse of 25 are waking you up. Of course, you've had eclipses here before. I'm not going to do that. That would be too much work. But, 2006 to 2008, 1980, no, 2004 to 2006 is the last time eclipses happened in Aries and Libra. We'll save that for the bigger deep dive video. Hey, Taurus. All right, let me get into my inner center here. This is the kind of eclipse, the 12th house, that's so inner workish. You're not here. Yes, it could be difficult circumstances to do with expenses. And that's true. Maybe you've been having ecliptic turbulence in the house of expenditures and expenses ever since the first eclipse in April of 23, the next one, April 24, and this last one, end of March 25. But other than that, You'd have to go back to 2004 and to 2006, right? When we had eclipses through this part of your chart before, in order for you to really go, what are the destined changes that I am making regarding my own addictions, my own bad habits, my own ancestral and karmic patterns that have the wreaking havoc on my wellness in my life kind of potential. Because where you can be your own enemy is that 12th house of sanskaras and karmic chains and binding patterns that you can unshackle from during these eclipses. So, for example, I know 2 Tauruses who quit drinking during this cycle and probably still will, because those drinking patterns were unsustainable in their lives and wreaking havoc. So it could be weed, cigarettes, drinking. It could be just, procrastination, self-doubt, ways you really undo yourself. And that's changing. And this is the best eclipse for you to grand finale here, because the way this one plays out, you have the node of fate lapping into the 11th house of good spirit, which can mean that the inner work changes are going to reap productive career success gains for you in the year that follows this eclipse and up to a month before. And also maybe massive shifts in the friendship circles and groups of people you choose to associate with that are very positive changes of community for you. And in escalation of a drive to succeed in your long-range goals and ambitions, unencumbered from the shackles of what was needing to be broken through. And the chironic wound in 2009 in this 12th house showed you that you do have something you need to undo here. That is the hallmark of an addictive pattern, an ancestral pattern, a family of origin unresolved trauma pattern that has been holding you back. And now you are clearing it through, and it will show up in the kinds of beautiful friends, new dreams and goals, allies and benefactors, helpers and people who want to support you, and a successful emergence of new amplitude in your career and reputation area. Mars wants to move you into the possibility of travel as well in the, say, month before and say 6 months after the eclipse, and you may take some journeys of any kind, pilgrimages, short distance travel. Some of you may be compelled to want to learn something new, study with some passion and ardor, something new to apply towards more career success. And Mars can also here amplify the potential to sever or end relationships with your neighbors or childhood friends, aunts, uncles, cousins, maybe sometimes a younger sibling, if those relationships just disable your greater success, and move your neighborhood. You might even change where you live as a result of this eclipse, but more likely to travel a bit in order for you to kind of dive into a way to improve your life's visions and goals and successes. But ultimately, this is a great eclipse for career improvement coming off of self-improvement. Gemini, sun, moon, and rising sign. This girl is getting cold. I'm going to just, maybe I won't turn the heat on. I'll just tuck my feet into cold and damp in Vancouver, into my, underneath me. All right, for you guys, look, look. My partner always laughs when I say, look. I can't stand that the White House press secretary in the past, not this new one, thank God, but the old ones, also say, the president has been very clear, or so-and-so's were very clear. They're like so stuck on the very clear line. It always used to drive me nuts because nothing was very clear. All right, Gemini, sun, moon, and rising. First of all, eclipses have gone through your 11th house back in 2004 to 2006, for example, and every 18 years before that. But this is different. Chironic wound in the house of belonging to friendship circles and groups. How have you felt wounded in your life? My progressed Gemini sun felt like an outsider during the pandemic because I didn't take the unnecessary protocol, and I was banned from travel and stores and shops and restaurants in my Canadian lockdown. So you might have been feeling things since 2019, like my friends don't fit me anymore. I don't suit it anymore. I went to a Palm Springs party and everyone was pounding back the booze at like noon in the party pool. And I'm like, that's not my cup of tea. So finding yourself in environments with social groups and friends since 2019, where you don't belong, you just don't fit in there. And there's also maybe not belonging to some of your own ambition and goals, and really realizing that's not on target for your deepest purpose. And maybe since 2019 Chiron entry there, a sense of some wounding around the career gains themselves, whether it's in your reputation or the money you're making, just feeling a little bit off purpose. Well, good news is you're coming back into purpose. And why are you coming back into purpose? Because you are having eclipses on the chironic wound in April of 23, in April of 24, and now the last one, March 29th of 2025, kaboom, gone wound, goodbye, alignment with your own dreams and wishes, new social circles and friends that you really enjoy. But these social circles and friends that you really enjoy a month before and 6 months after this eclipse, for example, will amplify your career success by aligning yourself with new people, new goals and dreams for yourself that are more on true and on purpose for your talents and gifts. That's the chironic shift. You're going to find the amplitude of your career success amazingly upswinging, more success in the visible sky, more celebrity, more influence, but more satisfaction as well as you move into a deeper, truer alignment with purpose and career. This last eclipse with the node in the 10th house can bring that for you. However, it can eclipse a relationship with an elder sibling. It can eclipse a relationship with someone who you thought was a friend, and you no longer choose to be with that person. And that's okay. You could have an eclipse too of a source of income, and it may not even be an accident. Like, you may choose no longer to use that modality in your career in order to create money. So there could be an eclipse of earnings as well, but that's okay because the North Node says career success anyway, just changing the way you do it. All right. And that's what I got for you. And it's a lovely little sky. It's a really beautiful transit of this last eclipse up here. Really think with Mars in your second house, Mars is ready to cut, end, and sever earnings means that no longer work for you. Financial ways to create abundance that are no longer useful. And by the middle of April, you will have recognized what Mars is asking you to do in your second house of earnings, because he is working with that eclipse in the house of great gains. So this is going to change earning strategies as well. Cancer, sun, moon, and rising sign. Well, so if you go back to 2004 to 6 ish, you had eclipses going through your 10th house, changing your career path, right? Some shifts in your career back then, and, or decisions you were making that you knew would lead to a change in your career. Things were shifting, and you maybe some difficulties with father figures and changes in your relationship to them as well. But now it's back again with this eclipse cycle that is finishing up. We had an eclipse in Aries in March, April of 23, April of 24, and now March 29th, 2025, the last finale, grand finale eclipse. This eclipse energy is trying to help you heal a wound around your career, around your reputation, around your purpose in life, around your visible status. Like, oh, I'm divorced. Oh, I'm single. Oh, I'm widowed. The thing you've been carrying around like a block and chain around your, whatever, like not a block chain, like a chain and ball around your ankle. I mean, you could undo that wound, So there's a shift around a wound that has belabored you that you will be able to uncouple from and release yourself from, because the North Node eclipse is going to help you do that. But at the same time, the eclipse in the 10th house is opening up a doorway to the South Node amplification of your 9th house. And some of you may have changes in your career connected to a desire to educate, to go back to school, to study or learn something, maybe even just be mentored by someone that allows for a greater amplitude of career, because you have a new educational shift and you have a new path ahead of you. Some of you may have changes to your career, reputation, and visible status because of travel, foreign shores, foreign lands, foreign people. And if you've been single and you've had 2 marriages behind you, this could bring a destined twin flame soulmate love story into your life. And now your new reputation of being single is going to be, no, I'm with my 3rd major squeeze. And that could happen for some of you Cancers in this narrative. Okay, I have a Cancer girlfriend. I'm hoping that's going to be true for her. And ultimately, if you're in the book publish industry or podcasting and writing, those things are going to increase in their success in the 6 months after this particular lunation eclipse of the sun, solar eclipse. Mars wants you to change your identity. and not suffer fools gladly. Cut away the people you don't need in your life, your business partners, your audience, your significant other, if necessary. Cut away people in the home that you don't want to spend time with. Push your kids out of the nest, whatever. You're making changes. You're making decisions. You're taking actions. You're cutting and severing anything that's not true through to mid-April. And Mars, as the Lord of the 10th house, would say, cut the career. If that path, that job, that career path isn't working for you, it's okay to end it. Let's just cut, snip, and sever. A new dharmically aligned, meaningful path is on the way. If you are a Leo, you had eclipses in a trine of fire to you back in 2004 to 2006 in your 9th house. This is a house of God. It involves religious faith, spiritual belief, temples, ideologies, and spiritual philosophies, gurus, priests, popes, and teachers. It is literally an eclipse energy that happens to want you to expand here, to change your relationship to your own meaning of life. Although father figures can also be of the 9th house, and eclipses can eclipse them from your life. They could move, you could move, they could pass, you could disrupt the relationship with them. This energy is not new. You had an eclipse here in April of 23, April of 24, and of course this one here in March of 25. Grand finale isn't just about the 9th house. It's also about your 8th house. And that's chunky money that you get through shared resources with a spouse and inheritance monies, sale of land, mortgages and loans, tax rebates. And there's something about this eclipse that says, as you align with a deeper purpose, or have an eclipse of a father figure in your life, you may receive some chunks of money. Father figures, you make your mind up. They could be, people who are not your biological dad, but feel like a father figure, even a grandparent. Now, with all of that eclipse energy going through your 8th house over the next 18 months, the North Node is there, and that's where all the new eclipses are coming into play. Lunar eclipses are there. This could indicate, of course, you're going to come into some fulfillment and fruition of financial gain that doesn't come from money that you earn, but rather money that you get. So that can be spousal separations, divorces, and assets from inheritances and sale of property. Just keep that in mind. Mars is the eclipse maestro. He's in your 12th house. Well, that's cutting all the karmic ties that bind you and liberating yourself from your past karmic patterns so that you can move into a new alignment with purpose. Now I'm having an absolute hunger attack at a totally inconvenient time because I don't have time to stop. I've got to plow through so I can see a client in 40 minutes. So let's get through you guys and then I'll munch down a banana. March 29th is our eclipse. It is a grand finale in Aries. This is your chunky money house. You had eclipses in your chunky money house, Virgo, back in 2004 to 2006. And if you want to go back 18 years before that, of course, you can do that as well. But this is about usually some money that doesn't belong to you being shown to you, given to you, opened a portal to you, or losing that money, eclipsing money that you have, put in investment structures and stuff like that. It's shared resources with a spouse. And so there's energy to propel some change in the way you and your partner shared the money together. And also, Virgo, there is illumination of secrets, especially financial and connected to your partner. So there's a lot of money stuff going on here for you. And you've been experiencing this, as I said, already 23, 24, and this is a grand finale. But unlike the last eclipse, and you've got a chironic wound here, I always use my daughter as an example, since 2019, a wound around other people's resources and shared monies. And my daughter blew through an eclipse from her grandmother and once an eclipse inheritance from her grandma in one summer. It was nothing. I mean, it was a couple $1,000s, let's say, but it's just, she felt bad about it ever since then. She was only like 19 years old or something. So you are looking at where the wound is with you and your partner sharing resources, with inheritance monies, with your banking investment monies, whatever, with money that you have created, tax shelters from. And there's something about this kind of money is not so easy for you. Might feeling wounded around your psychic and intuitive and occult mysteries. Might have felt wounded about how other people perceive you, the esteem of others. And now this energy is very karmic, the 8th house too. So you might want to really think about mid 2004 to mid 2006 and how you handled that back then. Eclipses can bring secrets out as well, family secrets in particular, or spousal secrets. And there's all of that stuff. And this eclipse on the 29th has a node in the marriage house, and that wasn't true for the other two in 23 and 24. In fact, the 23 eclipse was more about universities and higher education. So, what's going on here in the seventh house is this is going to involve a business partner, a love partner, a marriage partner. Single Virgos can meet someone. Partnered Virgos, watch out. This is intense energy on the marriage front connected to shared monies and resources. And we always look at that eighth house when we talk about the in laws of your partner. There may be some turbulence with your partner's family of origin and you getting all entangled in this energy as well. And finally, it could be your partner going through a major turmoil. Maybe a family member dies or something, or they get an inheritance from a grandparent, and you're like watching it on the sidelines. And that would have been true to some extent for all of the other eclipses, right? In 23 and 24, but it's more amplified on this eclipse. And ultimately, Mars says, as the maestro of the eclipse, I want you to make some significant changes in your long range goals and dreams as it applies to your marriage partner, you, your significant other, if you don't have one, the one that could come in. This could also bring you a very karmic mate if you're a single Virgo in the 6 months that follows this eclipse. Mars could also say, carve away some of your friends and or carve away the way you make money and get rid of some ways of earnings because now you're going to rely more on shared resources with a partner. That's another possibility here. I'll be doing a deep dive video into this story. So if you want to connect with me later in the month, please like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Because I'll be talking about stars and asteroids involved. Libra, sun, moon, and rising sign. How fast can I auctioneer this one today? Okay, I do talk fast, but I've got 3 planets in Aries sextiling my air Aquarius. From the house of fast talk and communicating. Maybe I need chocolate, but I got to keep going. So, first things first, Libra. You had eclipses in your relationship house before, but not with a chironic wound. So, yes, back in 2004, mid 2004 to 2006, the energy of eclipses rolling through your 7th house of committed long-term love, business partners, friends, customers, clients, and audience and marketplace. Okay. Yes, there were eclipses back then. And that could bring destined new relationships to you or ended ones that were not doing so well. But the chironic wound in the house of the business partners, the audience, the marketplace, the one significant other has been a chironic wound since 2019. You've not felt okay. It's felt some bit of turbulence. Maybe you attracted wounded mates. I don't know. But this eclipse is going to end that for good. That's the end of that cycle of the wounded relationship house. Kaboom. Could also be wounded legal contracts and agreements, but mostly business partnership related in that case. Kaboom, kaboom, done. End of that story. You're healing the chironic wound. It's a one and done. Some of it could come through a new conversation, a new discussion, and new agreements with your significant other, maybe almost like a handshake or something on an important challenge in the relationship. Because it also activates your 6th house of work, however, with the North Node there, unlike before in 2004 onward, this is going to open up a potential new opportunity in work connected to partners in business. So you might start your own business partnership. You got Pluto in the house of entrepreneurship. You may make a change in your work with a new legal agreement about terms of service. Mars wants you to make changes in your work. Mars is cutting through your work house through to mid-April. He's now direct. He's like, it's time for a change. What is the change? Well, you were thinking about it September, October. Now it's back. Yes, you could be passionate, driven, and hardworking, especially the end of March, right, with that trine to Saturn. And you probably will be doing that. But ultimately, Mars is like what needs to go, what needs to change, what needs to shift in the work in order for success to happen. And you will find that that's going to be a very big part of this eclipse, because as Mars is driving that question forward, the eclipse says within 6 months of this eclipse on March 29th, some of you may have the answer, whether it's new work routines and health routines, but it could also be a quitting and an ending and a changing of your career and job path for something new to emerge. And that's what I got for you. And I'm wishing you the very best as a Libra. Scorpio, sun, moon, and rising sign. Well, first things first, Scorps. We have a massive energy of the last eclipse healing, a chironic wound on the 25th of March, 29th of March, in your 6th house of bad fortune. But it can be the house where you have health and work routines, job, employment, employer structures. You've been chironically wounded in this area since 2019. A lot of Scorpios I know just feel like they're not on their true path in life, that their work is a far cry from their deeper calling and their talents and gifts and purpose. So the key to purpose is Chiron, and he's going to help you find it in your work and align with your true purpose. And some of you, as a result of this eclipse, may go back to school, may re-educate in the year that follows this eclipse because of Saturn in your ninth house, or move your work to a foreign country or work for a foreign entity. But on the other hand, with this energy of, having had eclipses here, March of 23, April 23, April 24, now this is the one that really brings you into touch with your joy. Like, you're going to try to find the joy spark in work. You're going to find, what you do in work must align with creativity, inspiration, enjoyment, and passion. And some of you may find that the key to that truth becomes available to you, and you finally figure out how to do that. And so some of you could be a change of work because, Mars is moving through mid-April to mid-June, your 10th house, and you may quit your job. Your job could quit you, but you'll move towards something far more satisfying. And also with this eclipse involving the North Node of Fate in the 5th house, if you're single, you could start dating a destined romantic partner. I got somebody way outside the box. You're so shocked. You never thought you would be dating a blank, like you didn't know you were gay and you're dating the same sex. You could fall in love in unusual ways in the 6 months that follows this eclipse, really up to a year afterwards, but up to 6 months. And and changes in your work environment because of fertility and pregnancy. So maybe you have to take a maternity leave or, a paternity leave or something like that. You're going to change your job because you're going to be a parent. So that's some possibilities. Let me know how it goes. All right. There's no way I'm going to get through this without a chocolate break or something. I'm faintingly hungry. I'll give myself 5 minutes and be right back. Okay, let's continue. It's getting darker and darker in my house, and we are going to roll through the rest of you guys. Don't forget, this is just an overview. There's going to be a huge, maybe even a webinar, but a definitely deep dive into this on my channel coming toward the end of the month. All right, of March. All right, so we're back in the Sag land. We're whipping through 4 signs in, let's see, oh goodness gracious, timing, 20 minutes or less. So let's go. So look at Sages. Eclipses are expanding, changing, and shifting the way you relate to sexuality, love, and romance. Your children, creativity, and entrepreneurial energies in that 5th house. Did this in 2004 to 2006. It's been back again since 2023 March, 25 March, 24 March, 23 April 2024 April eclipse, and then now this eclipse here. And this is different than the last time because this is also connecting you to the chironic wound in the house of romantic love and true love and sexual love. And a lot of you Sagittarius have figured out since 2019, I'm wounded here. I might have a wound with my child. I'm wounded in my relationship to fertility and my children and my pregnancy and my love and my creativity and my romantic life. And this is going to change. This is going to fix and change. And you could even have been wounded in your ability to acknowledge and recognize your natural gifts and talents and use them in this world. So as you feel this wound being healed, hopefully, this eclipse offers up a very beautiful story. It's going to activate the 4th house. And if you're looking for love and the wound is, I'm alone, I need a partner, you could find that partner close to home. This could be a destined new love relationship coming off this eclipse because you bump into the person taking out the garbage, or in your hometown, they're down the street, or wherever you live. And you might also find that if you're in a relationship and the sex life has been wounded, or the relationship is terminally wounded, Mars, Jupiter direct now in your 7th house will end that relationship if necessary. Maybe there's a loveless, romanticless, sexless life and it's time to change something in an existing relationship, but it's destined. The North Node amplifies your connection to home and land and property and real estate, and successful changes will be occurring there in the next 18 to 20 months or so. And this is also about your children. And so changes in the relationship to your children and eclipsing of that relationship could end up moving you somewhere. And that's good because you're meant to move and expand and change your home. Finally, the way Mars is seeing it from the 8th house, that eclipse could also change your financial relationship to some of your children or a romantic lover. You might cut them off. Mars is about cutting off stuff and its financial supply to a romantic partner or to a child or to an entrepreneurial or creative endeavor, and it's time to end it. Ultimately, the beautiful energies of the amplification of the fourth house are unlike anything you've seen in this lifetime or the world. Jupiter supports an increase in your long game money strategies connected to an expansion and maybe change in where you live. And if you've been an artist struggling with your creativity, that's about to change. Your artistic and creative energies are about to amplify. Looking for love in foreign lands is also possible. Rahu is the foreigner. Mars is going to go into your foreign lands house mid-April, mid-June, and there could be some long distance foreign land romance or a romantic partner from a foreign place for a single Sagittarius looking for love, or a romantic partner connected to learning and educational environments coming your way off of this eclipse in the house of romance. Looking forward to hearing what happens. We'll be going deeper into this during the end of the month video. I encourage you to come visit me for that one. All right, so it is for Capricorns, the eclipse cycle of 2004 to 2006 is back again, 2023 to this last eclipse in 2025 in Aries. The same cycle, same place, fourth house. You want to move, or you're going to move, or change your home, or change your relationship to your mother, or have a challenge with your mother, or a shift regarding relationships to those you live with and have lived with, or a change of home. And the change of home has been trying to happen since 2023 and 24, and now this is the last finale. Normally, Rahu could make you before now move to a foreign country, but Rahu's now moved into your third house of the siblings, the local neighborhood, aunts, uncles, cousins, and you may relocate yourself closer to some of those people. With the energy of this eclipse, the chironic wound of not feeling like you know where you belong, where's your true home, could have sent you into all kinds of conniptions, like moving abroad, like my ex-husband moved to Portugal. I'm not sure he's going to stay there. He might want to move off this eclipse closer to family, closer to friends and family and people he knows from his old local hood. What are you guys thinking of doing here? There could be a change in your domicile connected to travel, connected to new neighbors and neighborhood situations. There could be a grand finale of no longer feeling like you don't have a place to belong, that you don't belong to your home and your home does not belong to you. And Mars is also in the house of significant long-term committed love, cutting, severing, and ending, or changing. You may move in connection to a long-term love partner. You may find a new love, move in connection to a relationship, but you may change your home because of a change in a relationship status coming off of this eclipse. But ultimately, the goal is to move you into a place of dreamy happiness and a new place of residence. That's true, but it may take up to 6 months for you to know where that will be. This is just pithy. Aquarius, I'm one of you, sun, moon, and I am a rising sign. Well, we got Pluto breathing through us, so aren't we all Darth Vadered up and Godfathered up? And we don't suffer anyone gladly, let alone the fools and the trolls. You know it. I just could delete you these days. Look, the thing is that there's a chironic wound in the house of writing. There's a chironic wound in the house of traveling. There's a chironic wound in the house of creativity in writing and marketing and selling, and also maybe with a sibling, and also with neighbors and neighborhood and childhood friends. And this wound has been here since 2019 in the Aries part of your sky. And this is where the eclipses are happening. They did happen, in 2023, the month of April of 24, and now the end of March this year. This is a grand finale. You want to heal that wound. You want to finally get those writing projects off the ground. You want to connect with neighbors and neighborhoods that really feel right for you. You want to make changes in a relationship to a sibling, aunt, uncle, cousin. You might want to generate a different strategy or new direction in your online business work. The same energy was here, mid 2004 to mid 2006, but not with the chironic wound. In 2004 to 2006, I changed my home. So I went through a divorce and separation, and I changed my neighborhood and home. This will do the same thing for you, but it's deeper because it's got that chironic wound of not belonging to the neighborhood, not belonging to the homeland, like the people around you, not feeling at home in your everyday life. And short distance travel wounds as well. Tell me about it during the pandemic when this girl said no to a non-safe and non-effective protocol and was banned from travel within my own country. That's how strict Canada was. And I couldn't socialize with my friends in public places. And I was like basically an outcast. So there's going to be a healing of that wound. Now, because it's a nodal access to the North Node in the house of your financial matters, No doubt about it. Increases in your finances. No doubt about it. Whatever's going on here by changing your approach to writing, social media, marketing, selling, approaches that you're going to change or shift regarding the neighborhood environment or travel environments, this is going to lead to financial increase where the North Node says more money. Yes, please. Thank you. Increasing your worldly success of your financial resources because of a change, most likely connected to neighborhood and neighbors and the word residence or home. It could also be a change in your income because of new marketing, selling, online, communicating, teaching, and writing projects. And it's going to amplify, increase, and volume it up for you. But this eclipse is also ending a wound. The wound is done. If you felt wounded and out of touch and not on purpose in all those third house matters, it's going to change. Mars is agreeing 100%. He's like, got this. We're changing the work. Mars is the Lord of the lunation. The eclipse. He's in the sixth house of the work, routines, habits, colleagues, co-workers for some of you. And Mars is the rule of your 10th house of career. Changes in the work, changes in the career, connected to greater income. But something has to change in the third house. Most often it's a neighborhood situation, a locale, something about the daily life that you live. I'll give me as an example. I want to live where I put my feet on the grass. I want a yard and I want a tree. I want to be able to go out into nature. I'm in a high-rise building. I'm done with high rises. I don't care how beautiful they are. This is a mid-rise, but I'm just done with being above the earth. And that will help me ground, and it will be better for my health, better for my work, and better for my income. All right. So there's me as an example. Touch base with me closer to the middle to the end of March. We'll be doing a deeper dive into more intricate aspects, including the asteroids on this eclipse. Finally, I get an auctioneer award and no complaining. All right. I don't know. You went so fast for my sign. This is just an overview of March. So entitled, folks. So entitled. Pisces, sun, moon, and rising sign. There is a energy here that you want to make a change to your financial wound or your facial wound or your dietary style wound. All of the above are what you eat, what you smoke, what you sniff, what you make, what you save, what you earn, what you're like. Think about your nose, your teeth, and your face. All of this shit is like facial appearance is wounded since 2019. Something's wrong here. Something isn't right here. And you know it, you feel it, and you want to fix it. And now these eclipses are helping you do that, especially the eclipse right on that wound in April of 2024, but also April of 2023, and this last grand finale eclipse on March 29th of 2025 is a humdinger because it's involving a couple of things. The Lord of the eclipse is Mars in the fifth house of passion, play, fun, entrepreneurship, use of your natural talents and gifts, sexuality, romance, etc. How that matters to you, I don't understand yet, but maybe Mars is saying by making changes in finding work that is passionate and inspired. He goes through that workhouse is joy mid-April to mid-June. You're just about to turn a corner and find some employment or path of career or entrepreneurial endeavors that charge up your earnings and improve your financial wellness. Some of this could also be about changes in your diet, especially mid-April to mid-June, to improve your health. But before all of that endpoint game stuff, what about the node in the sign of you? Well, this is once in a lifetime. You weren't alive in the 1800s and 50s because that's when we had the North Node Saturn combination here like this. And this is like incredible energy to have eclipses going through your sign where Saturn stabilizes, grounds it, and makes it real. And with Neptune, dreams come true, dreams come real. So you're really moving into this energy of how you could amplify some solid gains in your career by making some long-range dreams and wishes come true. And your children are the fifth house, and maybe your children will be there to support you financially, or maybe there'll be a change in the relationship to the children that you have or the romantic love partner that you have that allows for an amplification of your feeling internally of great expansion and growth and success. But as you love the way you look more and your face feels fine, and as your dietary style improves your health, and most importantly, as your financial resources improve. I'm wishing you the very best, Pisces. I did it. I have to see a client in 5 minutes. Bye, everybody. And don't forget to check the description box for all the things I'm doing. Like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Bye.